Okay, this is the story of a man named Bill. Who are you going to believe? Who are you going to believe? Bill says that the government of a particular country, acting in a criminal manner, uh, raided and confiscated papers and documents and used those documents to transfer ownership of Bill's business to itself. The government of a certain country took possession of a man's business and tried to get his money, but was not unable to get his money because Bill cleverly transferred his money out right from under their noses, so that the only thing of value they could get would be to apply for a tax refund, a refund on taxes that Bill had paid. So these miscreants working inside the government of this particular country took possession of a business, and as the new owners of that business said that they had made a mistake and that they had paid taxes needlessly and were asking for a refund. And they used their connections inside this government to obtain the refund, amounting to millions of dollars. And in the process of carrying out this crime, these government perpetrators actually, probably, almost certainly, committed murder. And not just one, but multiple murders. So we're talking about a very corrupt government that was greedy and resorted to abuse of power, extreme abuse of power, and murder, and then notified Interpol, which is the international police, to arrest Bill whenever he tries to pass through an airport. If he were to fly into London, for example, and attempt to pass through customs where they check your identification, the administrator, person, bureaucrat, guard would see Bill's name on the list, which flagged by a so-called red notice, telling him to take this person aside, put him in a holding cell, and await for the officials from this government to pick him up and take him back to the home country where he could be interrogated and investigated. That's the meaning of the term red notice. Bill wrote a book about his experiences with this corrupt government, and he entitled it Red Notice, referring to how various, I don't know the names of these guards or policemen working at airports. I've never passed through customs, but if you fly internationally, when you enter um, whatever country you want to name, they want to know who you are, and they check to see if you're a criminal. You know, if some government has posted an arrest warrant request with Interpol, the International Police Force, uh, you will be taken aside and put in a holding room, and you'll sit there and sit there and sit there until the some government official shows up, policeman, uh, to question you, arrest you, or whatever. That's the meaning of the term red notice. And Bill, according to his book, is an innocent person who was robbed and cheated and abused by the government of Vladimir Putin, Russia. So, who are you going to believe, Bill or Vladimir Putin and his oligarchs, his associates, who are all former KGB agents, who are now known around the world as the Russian Mafia? The Russian Mafia. And when some of these mafia people get into business, quote unquote, and get very rich, well, then we refer to them as oligarchs. They're like the ruling class of Russia. They have power and money. They live in mansions. They own yachts. They own several homes around the world. They transfer money, huge money, uh, through various banking entities around the world. They often have shell companies, which is like a um, not really a business, but paperwork purporting to represent a business and to legitimize transfers of huge funds, usually for things like to buy mansions, property, yachts, and so on, or to stash their money in various investments around the world, like in real estate. These are the so called oligarchs, the associates of Vladimir Putin. Who are you going to believe? Bill might be fabricating all this, or it could possibly be true. But he went to various people in governments around the world explaining his stories, and the politicians around the world, both in the United States and in Europe, believed Bill and decided to enact laws whereby the assets of these oligarchs would be frozen. They could not transfer money through banks. They could not get access to the money that was in a bank under the control of one of these governments. Say in the United States, if if money was in the Bank of New York, I'm just making this up, and this law called the Magnitsky Act was passed by Congress, within the Russian oligarchs whose names are on a list of sanctions, people sanctioned by this Magnitsky Act, which was the result of the work of Bill Browder. Uh, uh, these mafia figures could not get their money, nor could they legally enter the United States or whatever country signed on to this act. And several countries, not just the United States, have passed Magnitsky laws freezing the assets of various Russian mafia figures who are suspected of committing multiple murders and who basically stole the wealth that they've got from the Russian people. Who are you going to believe? Bill Browder or Vladimir Putin's Russian mafia? Who are you going to believe? Well, I tend to believe Bill Browder. I guess that makes me naive and stupid. Okay, and getting to the point of this video, there are people on the internet who are bashing Bill Browder, and obviously they're in support of Russian mafia figures who are suspected of committing multiple murders and stealing money. Who are you going to believe? I believe Bill Browder. But I encounter people on the internet who are bashing Bill Browder with allegations that I don't believe. And apparently they're in support of these Russian mafia people. Well, I come across anybody on Twitter, for example, no matter how reputable they appear to be and how popular they appear to be, if I find that they're bashing Bill Browder, I'm suspicious of such a person. I'm wondering what their motives are. And I've come across two Twitter accounts that are very well liked by people who support Donald Trump and who are interested in uncovering the origins of Spygate. And these two Twitter accounts are, much to my dismay, and I hate to finger these two people, and I hope I'm wrong, but Jeff Carlson, who goes by the name Jeff at the Markets Work, and another one recently I've come across and I'm suspicious of, but I hope I'm wrong, is Roscoe B. Davis on Twitter. Now, both of these people are liked by Trump supporters, but I'm suspicious of them because behind the scenes they're bashing Bill Browder. It makes me suspect that they're somehow cooperating with these Russian mafia people. I have to alert you to my concerns, and I hope I'm wrong. Jeff at the Markets Work, and Roscoe B. Davis on Twitter. I've said it. Thank you for listening. I hope I'm wrong.